will you call the roll, please?
This is Ocean County Freeholder meeting,
Freeholder Haynes.
Here.
Freeholder Bartlett.
Here.
Director
February 21st.
In compliance with the Open
2018.
Public Meetings Act, this notice has been advertised as in a manner as prescribed by law. And we would ask now that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. And we would ask that everyone remain standing following the pledge and a prayer to recognize and remember the victims of that shooting in Parkland, Florida, their friends and their families, and teachers and loved ones. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, as we assemble today, we pray for the friends and families of the 17 students and teachers senselessly killed in Parkland, Florida. We pray that they may find some peace and comfort through your blessings. We ask also that you bless and keep safe our brave men and women serving our great country, both at home and around the world. Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. The Board of Freeholders welcomes everyone to this meeting of February 21st, 2018. And with that, we will now call on our clerk of the board to begin our business portion of the meeting.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Bassel.
Director. We have 3 ordinances for public hearing that were introduced at the last meeting. First one, 2018-1, authorizing the rehabilitation and repair of various bridges in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, and appropriating $2 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,900,000 in bonds or bond anticipation notes of the County of Ocean to finance the same.
Okay, in a moment, we will open the public hearing, but just as a brief introduction to this, this involves some 5 projects. Mayetta Bridge in Stafford Township, the funding for Ridgeway Boulevard Bridge in Manchester, for the Grawtown Bridge in Jackson Township, for Zeb's Bridge in Berkeley Township, and we will also receive Department of Transportation funding for that. And lastly, for the Morris Boulevard Bridge in Stafford Township, and there will be additional Department of Transportation funds with that project too. So we will open the public hearing on this ordinance. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this ordinance? Yes, sir. Please give your name, and we, of course,
I know you.
yeah,
I'm becoming infamous, I know.
yep.
Not necessarily because you open for Brick Township. I have a quick question for you. Brick Township is doing work, I'll make this quick. Is this, the funding that you're receiving, is that only for county? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, finish your question. I'm gonna
Because,
call on the engineer to
In
answer.
Brick Township, they're having work done on the bridge, off of, I've got the name of the bridge, I bad memories, like, and it's just, is this only with bridges that are associated with the county, or?
The bridges that are involved are the Mayetta Bridge, the Ridgeway Boulevard Bridge, the Grawtown Bridge, Zeb's Bridge, and Morris Boulevard
county.
Bridge.
Yeah.
And they're county bridges, but they are not in Brick Township.
Yeah, I
Particular
was gonna
bridge.
ask you if there was a reason why Brick Township Bridge was not included. It's county bridges only then.
Mr. Engineer.
That bridge has already been funded in previous years, and that's why that bridge is not included in this. The one in Brick, the Midstreams Bridge that's being under construction right now, yes. That's why it's
also
already.
county responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious.
It's not a residence.
That's under a different ordinance.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly.
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes.
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett.
Yes.
Director Ray.
Yes.
Next freeholder, we have ordinance 2018-2, authorizing various engineering, road, bridge, and drainage improvements at various locations all in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, and appropriating $4 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,800,000 in bonds or bond anticipation notes of the County of Ocean to finance the same.
Thank you very much, and we will open the public hearing on this. But first, this includes the East Branch Culvert replacement on Route 539 in Barnegat, the Ridgeway Boulevard drainage replacement in Manchester, a widening of Chambers Bridge at the Garden State Parkway intersection and Brick, traffic signals at Hooper Avenue and Target, Toms River, and intersection improvements at the intersection of Massachusetts and Prospect Avenue in Lakewood Township. So we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll close the ordinance and ask for a resolution
So moved.
or a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Third, ordinance 2018-3, authorizing the design of reconstruction and resurfacing of certain county roads along the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, and appropriating $500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $450,000 in bonds or bond anticipation notes of the County of Ocean to finance the same.
All right, thank you. And this, one of the important aspects of this particular bonding ordinance is to design the improvement long awaited for Cross Street and Route 9 in Lakewood, or Cross Street in Lakewood Township, and a number of overlay projects, which I will not read the entire list, but involves quite a list here for road repaving overlays. So we'll open a public hearing on this ordinance. Would anyone like to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll close the ordinance and ask for a motion.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Under non-freeholder, we have authorizing payments of bills contained in Bill Committee Report Number 4.
Offer the bills for payment.
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes, with those exceptions noted on the summary report.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes, with the exceptions as noted on the bill summary report.
That stands adopted with the abstentions noted. We have engineering payments to various contractors, H1 through H4.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Consent resolution, I1 through I20.
So moved. Second. We have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
We have motions, items J1 through J5, in reference to numbers 3 and 4. All members of the board were present.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
One traffic safety improvement resolution, item K1.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Bid awards to the lowest qualified bidders, L1 through L6.
Offered.
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
We have one change order, item M1.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Contracts, items N1 through N9.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Appointments and reappointments, O1 through O7.
Move the appointments?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Kelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Haynes?
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Remaining items, freeholder are received items, resolutions from governing bodies, minutes and meeting notices, reports and correspondence, all received from the clerk's office since the last regular meeting of the board.
Thank you, clerk of the board. You will handle those in the normal fashion.
Yes, sir.
We will now move to our freeholder comment portion of our agenda. And this is the time when any members of the board may wish to share with the public issues of importance to any of their departments or other matters.
I'd
Freeholder
like to
Kelly.
just point out resolution number 2 on our agenda, honoring Walt Hobson as he retires in 25 years of dedicated service. We talked a little bit about that at the pre-board, but Walt is with us today, and this will be his last opportunity to be here at a regular meeting of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, although Walt is always invited to spend time with us, and I'm sure after he retires, the one thing he'll want to do is run out to Freeholder board meetings. Walt has been an exceptional leader, as you know, especially as so many new laws and new protocols have been placed on us by the state and the courts. And WAF has worked with a very capable staff to implement those changes. And I just want to thank you very much for everything you've done for so long. 25 years as an employee, but the last 5 as department head, I'm not really sure. 3 years. See how fast time goes? I thought it was 5. Okay, but I just wanted to say thank you, and you have been just an outstanding, for your whole 25 years employee, and for the last 3 as a good leader. And I see that the new leader is very smart, as he made sure this week he sat behind you.
Who'd have blocked me out?
Yeah, good job. Okay.
Good
Thank you.
observation, Freeholder.
Yeah.
Very good. And other members of the board who may wish to talk about.
Thank you,
Walt,
Mr. Director. I
his
just really want to say, I hope everyone is
retirement,
enjoying the weather today, because I don't think tomorrow's going to be as nice, but it really feels like it's a beautiful spring, almost summer day. I just want to say, this morning I attended the DART Prevention Coalition. It's a taking aim at substance abuse in Ocean County. It was held at Eagle Ridge, and there was over 300 participants, and they had a guest speaker, a gentleman by the name of Ed Chamelier, who was from Kentucky. He was a 30-year state police person, and for the last 8 years of his career there, he did the strike force. It was an extremely educational program that they had there. They had people from law enforcement, they had elected officials, they had people that, whether it's in health or recovery, prevention, it was extremely good. If anyone wants to be involved with DART, you can get in touch with them through a Michael Capco, his DART Prevention Coalition. I have his phone number, but their mission is to engage Ocean County youth and residents in the process of reducing substance abuse. It was extremely educational. I found there's a lot of myths that are out there with regards to, mostly the whole thing was about marijuana, and talking about what marijuana is and giving a lot of the truths that are really out there about that drug, and that did the things that were the truth and the things that aren't, and really how bad it is throughout the country, and the addiction part of marijuana, because of the difference between the marijuana of today and the marijuana of many years ago. Between the THC, it was just extremely high. But there was an awful lot. The gentleman talked for probably about an hour and a half. Very, very educational, very good. So I could sit here for 2 hours and talk to you about it, but I don't think you really want to hear me talk for 2 hours. But if anyone is interested in the DART Prevention Coalition or be involved in it, you can just get in touch with my office. Thank you.
Thank you for being there at that important roundtable meeting this morning.
Very good.
Thank you. Deputy Director, John Barton.
No comments.
All right, thank you. Speaking of the health department, our health department director, Dan Regday, usually he's here at the meetings. Some of you may notice he's not here. Well, the commissioner of the Department of Health will be over at the Thompson River North High School Arena. I don't know what the new name is of it, the old Pine Belt Arena. The Barnes. And the commissioner will be there. They're having a very large health fair there this afternoon. The commissioner of health will be there. It starts about 4 o'clock and is on right now. And the commissioner is supposed to be there by 4:30. If anyone or any of the media or anybody who's here that may want to go over there and meet the new commissioner of the Department of Health, State Department of Health. And they'll be going around. They have blood pressure and cholesterol testing and all kinds of flu shots and so forth are available, flu immunizations and pneumonia immunizations and so forth. It should be a pretty neat event, and we certainly welcome the new Commissioner of Health to Ocean County. And we have been, for those who regularly attend our meetings, we have been discussing the issue of flu quite substantially in recent months. And as of this week, believe it or not, there have been diagnosed cases, over 14,000 diagnosed cases of flu in the state, and as many as at least 63 people have died from complications of the flu, including now 3 children. So, as we have always said, we encourage everyone to follow good health practices and also to obtain your flu immunization. It's still not too late. You hear that repeated on all of the national media as well. We still have several flu clinics that are actually go into mid-March. So anyone who wishes to inquire about that can go on the Ocean County Health Department website, which is very easy to remember, Ocean County Health Department, ochd.org. So that is all there. And information about the clinics, the time and the place, you can access it there. And lastly, something that came to my attention, and I think it's really important, and we also talk about veterans here a lot in Ocean County. We're very proud that our county has the largest number of veterans anywhere in the state of New Jersey. And actually this week, and those of us who are old enough will remember this week marks the 45th anniversary of what was called Operation Homecoming. And that goes back to, subtract 45 years, that goes back to the time when the first group, there were 40 POWs, prisoner of wars, who were brought home, who were POWs in Vietnam. We had a total of 591 American soldiers who were POWs in Vietnam, and we still have, believe it or not, over 82,000 American Armed Forces personnel who are still unaccounted for with various wars, not just Vietnam, but World War II and World War I and beyond. But we still have 82,000 that we have not determined their whatever unfortunate circumstances left them somewhere outside the United States in the fog of war. So that's quite a remarkable number. And just as a point of information, the United States House of Representatives passed a resolution recognizing the 45th anniversary of Operation Homecoming, and it was sponsored by a Texas member of the House named Sam Johnson. And Congressman Johnson was a POW in Vietnam for 6 years in the Hanoi Hilton, and was in that first batch of 40 who was returned in 1973. So that is quite a remarkable story, and here he is returned as one of the first group from Vietnam POWs, and now he's the United States Congressman. So we honor him and all of our veterans in remembering that day. So now, with that, any other comments from the board? We will now open our public session, which is a long-standing tradition, and we ask that whoever wishes to address the board, if you come to the microphone, and please give your name and your address in order that we can contact you if necessary. And we ask that everyone maintain our kind of our policy of 5 minutes. If you keep your remarks to 5 minutes, and you can speak about anything you wish. So, Sam, if you would like to go first, you're certainly welcome.
Sam Foster, White Chico Drive in Brick. First I want to say, I want to apologize. I need these notes, I need this. I need props. It's not actually turn 57. I just did. I want to apologize to you for going a little, because I did notice that I should have read this more carefully, because my question was coming under H1, right there, Midstreams Road, so I apologize about that.
That's okay, no problem.
I'm a little bit late today, so.
It's a good question, we answered it anyway. It's
Yeah,
fun
I
to
appreciate
check.
that. Yeah.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
wanted to thank you for your, in the past, I know it was, you were in the newspapers about the board's opposition to legalize marijuana. I know you were quoted in newspapers also, and I think that's very important, because I attended the Brick Township Council meeting, I think it was 2 weeks ago actually, and I had a big argument with them about exactly the subject, which is increased law enforcement to fight crime. My point was, and I'm gonna make this quickly because I only have 5 minutes and I have 2 more points to make. My point was, in Brick Township, we had a mayor we had people, I've attended council meetings for like 10 years now, and we had Rollins Mobile Home Park residents come there and complain about drug dealing and drug addicts going there and bringing with them crime. None of them were residents of the park. Our mayor and our police chief went there, assessed the situation, and they assigned a police officer in uniform, in a uniform car there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and residents stood up and said that was very helpful. There was still a problem, but it was very helpful to them to reduce the crime. So this resolution, this ties in with your I-10, I think it is. Yes, I-10 about the shared services agreement with the prosecutor's office and sheriff's department. That is the right way to do things, because I got into an argument with them, but I tend to fight with politicians anyway. You know that when we come here. Too bad for the parties here. I apologize to them. But anyway, my point is that we know what works because it worked there. Some people try to downplay it by saying, well, there's still a problem there. Someone interrupted me. There's always going to be a problem with drugs, drug dealing, drunk driving, whatever. But the point that I want to make is that we had a problem with drunk driving and people being killed and injured in drunk driving. Right here in Tom's River, there's a high speed chase about that. It was through the efforts of groups like Students Against Drug Driving, Mothers Against Drug Driving. We had politicians pass laws, police made arrests, prosecutors prosecuted, and judges sentenced. And that did have the effect of reducing drunk driving related deaths and injuries. It also, more importantly, changed people's not perspective, but about alcohol. Because now I used to attend parties at work with alcohol. Now it's very common to have parties, work group parties or whatever that are alcohol free. So that changed. The word I can't grasp. It's when your attitude towards the subject. And I think that this is going to be very important in helping us deal with the drug problem. We saw it in Brick Township and with Walton Mobile Home Park. There's still problems there because when I worked at Papa John's, I used to deliver there. And I asked the people there, I remember them from the council meetings, and I said, how are things doing? They said, we still have problems, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was. They said, at least now we can leave our residents during the daytime without being worried about being a victim of crime. And so I want to thank you for this because, like I said, this is very bone of contention with me with, like I said, I went into it with the Brick Township because they have their different way of doing things. And it's very, because my point is that what people don't understand is with the carryover effect that this has. When people buy illegal narcotics, you're financing gangs. That's the primary source of income for gangs. And again, in Brick Township, we had a gang fight in Brick Memorial High School, which was involving gangs. And so, and I also mentioned the fact that Brick Township was rated in the top 5 safest cities in the country during the Scarpelli administration. Now, our rating is like 142nd in the state. So we've had a problem with this, and the point I made was that the police have been, in Brick Township, I'm speaking only about them, because I think the Tom's River Police do a fine job. I've always spoken very highly of Chief Mastronardi, now Sheriff Mastronardi. But when you have the police diverting from their primary responsibility of law enforcement, that affects our public safety. And what happened in Brick Township was we had people justify the Marine Patrol Unit because they said it generated a lot of revenue from tickets. But again, you're turning the police into a revenue-generating organization. And so I think this is very important, and I wanted to thank you for that, because both points, both I-10 and 11 shared service agreement, concentrate on law enforcement doing their job of getting out there, because that will deter crime. It happened in Brick Township. People like to say that we've tried that, the solution seems to be to them to just to do something else like legalizing illegal narcotics, which brings me to my final point. And actually, I think I already mentioned this to you about the policy on you are all opposed to the legalization of marijuana in the state of New Jersey. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, that again is something that's I agree with Attorney General Sessions. I forgot his last name. Jeff Sessions. His policy is to enforce the laws that we have, and that is a very key point to fighting any crime. Same thing with gun violence and everything else. We've got plenty of laws under books, but the problem is the need to be enforced and enforced fairly. So I want to thank this board for being you know, I'm sorry for my time, but I want to thank you for taking a firm stand for law enforcement and law and order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster, as always. Who else would like to speak?
Thank you.
You're on.
Thank you. Keith Rossetti, Bayville, New Jersey, RUSCITTI. I was just looking for a status update on Berkeley County Island Park.
I'd be happy to.
Freeholder, director, or deputy director?
Things are going along well. As you know, this has been a long time because of all the permits and everything else that we needed. But in any event, that's in the past. We expect to open sometime this spring, and everything is at this point on schedule. The Parks Director, Mike Mangum, is here. Mike, have I adequately explained that we're on schedule?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well then, he's the man in charge day to day, and that was the first park I did, by the way, when I was elected freeholder 100 years ago. So it needed rehabilitation. The storm ensured that. You wouldn't believe the permits that we had to go through with the state to restore Berkeley Island Park, but it will be better than it was before.
Is there a date or a week that we're pointing for?
No. Because if I gave you a day or a week, if we missed it, you'd say, you promised that we will open in the spring.
Okay.
But we're on track, and then again, the Parks Director right there who just confirmed it.
Okay.
You might not believe me, but he's good.
That's why I'm here, I'm asking.
Right, no. It's been a long time, we understand. We tried to, the summer before last, I guess, it was suggested that we could try to open part of it when we did, and we had a severe accident, and of course we got sued for that. So last summer, we did not open at all
Because of the lawsuit, was it?
well, because it wasn't safe.
That wasn't
Okay, and in the last storm, which I can't remember exactly what it was, it did significantly more damage to the pier. So we're getting everything in shape for it to open. But you will be pleasantly surprised with your new park.
Okay, so we're shooting for like Memorial Day?
Now you see you're trying to, you know you can't pin down a politician, come on.
We're open.
I won't say, we will open in the spring. We will open before the summer, and you will enjoy it.
Thank you. Does that include the entire park, the side, where the jet skiers and the boats launch as well? Or?
Would you call on Mike?
Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Rossetti. Who's next? Oh, you're speaking, okay.
Is that a good shot?
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My name is Lefty Grimes. I'm from East Hanover. We
Hold
do a
on one second.
podcast.
Would you spell your last name?
Grimes.
Okay,
Yes.
go on.
We do a podcast at the State House for 3 years now, outside the Chris Christie's office, old office. And at the end of our podcast, we have a memorial to our friends, because 1 out of 10 cannabis patients die. I'm a medical cannabis patient here in New Jersey. And when I became a cannabis patient, I became part of that statistic. 1 out of 10 of us die. It's told true every year. Just got a call 5 minutes ago from my wife telling me that my friend Armando just passed away. And he wasn't a patient. He couldn't afford to be a patient. He couldn't afford the program. It was a failed program from the start. He couldn't afford the doctor visits. He couldn't afford the $200 charge and the overpriced cannabis at the dispensary. So he died from spine cancer. He could have gotten a card, but he suffered and he had to get it off the street in Newark. So it kind of messes up my speech, but maybe it makes it
Take your time.
more
Fine.
important. Because I just came from the Black Caucus in Jersey City, where Senator Rice and Angela McKnight were all speaking. It was a great, great afternoon. And we talked a lot about how blacks and Hispanics have been victimized by the drug war. Not just recently, but the drug war was created by racists to fulfill an agenda. Harry Anslinger was the mouthpiece, but he was the mouthpiece of Hearst, Mellon, DuPont, who all had special interests to keep hemp out of American farms and cannabis out of the pharmacopoeia. Harry Anslinger said horrible things. And you want to know the power of media. FDR was in a wheelchair all those years, and we never knew it. Nobody knew. He was in a wheelchair. So imagine how strong the propaganda is when you got a guy going in front of Congress saying things like, marijuana leads to pacifism and communist brainwashing. Marijuana makes darkies think they're as good as white men. Marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. And you can Google this. It's Harry Anslinger's quotes. Some of this he said to Congress, and this is why we have a drug war. There are over 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the USA. Most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and others. The primary reason to outlaw marijuana is its effect on the degenerate races. You smoke a joint and you're likely to kill your brother. I mean, this is garbage. We don't think this way anymore. This is last century's thinking, guys and girls. Your parents lied to us. Your parents lied to you, and my parents lied to me about cannabis.
Please don't say that.
They did.
Please do not say
Yes,
that
they did
our
lie to you.
parents lied to us.
Why are you against cannabis? Your parents lied to you. They were sold a bag of goods by our
I will
government.
not sit here and have
Your-
someone stand there
Your
who
government
doesn't
lied to
live
your
in this
parents.
county
They lied to your
and tell me
parents.
that my
The government
parents
lied to you. The government lied to you. I just told you what the government said. Do you agree with what I just said?
Mr. Grimes, finish your statement, please.
Do you agree with what I just said? That marijuana causes darkies to think they're as good as white men?
Address your questions to the chair, please. Will you
Sad.
finish your statement, sir?
It's sad to see racism in action in the 21st century. I'm sad.
Yes, it is.
It's sad.
And it's
Your
also-
statement. Finish your statement.
It's also sad to see people say their parents lied to them.
They did.
When you didn't even know my parents.
I don't have to know them.
Oh,
I don't have to know
them.
because all of our parents
You
were
don't
lied
have to know
to.
them.
My grandmother was lied to. My mother was lied to.
Mr. Grimes?
And I have a
You're
feeling that we're
interrupting
being
me.
lied to right now.
You're taking my time away.
No, I'm not.
So this is the drug war in action. We're sick of this. As patients, we no longer want to see racism and the destruction of our society. It's horrible. And we're here because we saw the ignorance of your council, of this group right here. And it's very ignorant, extremely ignorant, as you've been called out in the papers by a lot of people, I'm sure. I come from Trump Town. I come from East Hanover. I come from a racist town, okay? I'm telling you, you're all racist up there. I know, believe me. And I just spent time with black people and Hispanic people talking about racism and how we're dealing with this kind of stuff that we have to deal with every day as patients. So I'm gonna end it with the oath of remembrance and remember our friend Armando, who just died from spine cancer. He did not have a card. He couldn't afford a card, and he's suffering. Well, he's not suffering anymore, but he suffered. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Armando.
Thank you, sir. And just as a point of clarification, I think you hopefully, you'll appreciate this, hopefully. This Board of Freeholders did never oppose medical marijuana, not when it was passed in 2010 by the New Jersey legislature and signed by former Governor Chris Christie, and we do not oppose it now. So thank you for your comments. Who's next? Anyone else? Sure. Mr. Director to be, could we ask this young man in the back to go first?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, let's just, yeah.
You might want
We'll
to,
save you.
sir, you left your,
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, he was,
Okay, so.
he's got an important thing to say, actually.
Good evening.
Good evening, Freeholders. My name is Hugh.
Go ahead, you were going to, sorry.
My name is Hugh Giordano. I'm a union representative for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union Local 152. We have membership up in this area, and today I am here to speak about cannabis. Currently, the UFCW has 1.2 million members across the United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada. We represent people in healthcare, in manufacturing, in retail, and public sector as well. And one of the divisions that we do represent is cannabis workers. We represent cannabis workers in both recreational and medical. So the reason I'm here is because I do have a problem with the ordinance that was passed. Even though it was non-legally binding, it still sends the wrong message about jobs and jobs creations. It is estimated in 2016 that cannabis was worth around $7 billion, and it is to increase 17% yearly to by 2020 It is estimated to have around 300,000 jobs within the industry, hopefully which will be all union members. In 2016, medical cannabis was worth $4 billion. By 2020, it'll be worth $13 billion. The recreational side in 2016 is worth $2 billion and be worth about $11 billion. So the revenue stream within that is excellent for taxation and also to help the public sector, which needs it bad, especially with infrastructure and education. When looking at cannabis and the UFCW's stance on this, here's the one thing. The one issue is training. The UFCW, along with states that have legalized it on a recreational and medical level, have started apprenticeships. Just like you have apprenticeships for iron workers, carpenters, and teamsters and so forth. Through that apprenticeship, we have created strong, professional, scientific-based employees that work in these dispensaries. When talking about safety within the cannabis industry, I know that one of your issues, Ms. Haynes, was public safety and public health, correct? Well, let's look at that for a second. Teamsters, which basically controls the alcohol industry, delivers alcohol every single day. But because those Teamsters are well-trained, have good benefits, have pension, and make a good wage, you don't see a Teamster passing out a 30-pack of Budweiser in the parking lot. Why would they do that? It doesn't happen. It's the same thing. So even though the reason that cannabis is a gateway drug in reality, and I'm very much in tune with the industry today, is because the drug dealer doesn't care. The drug dealer is there to make a buck. The good thing about the businessman is he's regulated. So he's not there just to make a buck, he's do things in the right way. So the one way to protect the youth is to get well-trained people, union people behind in those dispensaries. That way you won't see these issues. They have a good job, they have a good wage, they're not willing to risk that to sell to a child. Also, based on these numbers, they have shown that youth that are underage to use substances such as alcohol and cannabis has went down because now it's controlled. The stats are out there. Also, the other issue too is, I understand that you go to these forums and you talk to public health officials about cannabis. We could also make the same argument on our side where we have stats to show other public health issues say that it's not addictive, it's not a gateway. Mr. Bartlett.
Would you address your comments to the chair?
Oh, sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
Just trying to make it.
Opposed to individual.
Yeah, and they're not attacks, I want you to understand that.
Unfortunately, I'm in the chair.
Yeah, I know. As far as the banking side, absolutely correct that it is that they cannot bank with under the federal regulations. But where the UFCW has come into play is we have allowed the dispensaries, these cannabis business owners, to work and go into our credit union. So they are technically banking with us. The money is secure. And there's data to back that up as well. And I can absolutely share that with you as well. When looking also at people that are dealing with, when we're looking at young entrepreneurship, on a national level, about 23% of women are at an executive level as far as executives. The cannabis industry, the highest number so far that we have gotten is around 37%. So it's above average in the cannabis industry of young women taking entrepreneurship and becoming business leaders within this industry. I can show you that we create good wages, and I'll tell you this. In Minnesota, there was only 2 medical dispensaries. When we organized the first one, a custodian was making $18 an hour starting, full benefits and pension. And people that work in horticulture who are in the back, and these people have degrees. These are not just off the street people. $22 an hour starting out, full benefits and pension. Head cultivators making $2,200 a week. So by passing an ordinance that blocks this, you're blocking jobs and tax revenue. It is estimated that $1 billion in revenue will be created through recreational cannabis. And I can tell you that the low number is $300 million that would be that you would get in taxes. But there's also been other estimates up to $500 million. I think that when I look at things such as it's going to cost us money. It's going to enforce this and deal with what you're dealing with already because you have drug dealers out there that are selling way worse. I'd rather have good union jobs created, okay? And I think it's important to do that. And I would suggest that please, before you make these ordinances, before you get in one side of the argument, why don't you visit a dispensary? Why don't you talk to the small businessman and the workers in there and see how really trained they are? Please look at cannabis the same way you look at alcohol. If Teamsters can do it, United Food Commercial Workers can do it too, and we can create good jobs by doing it and protect our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gennaro.
Hugh Giordano. If you want my card, I can definitely give it to you after the
Would you
session.
please leave it with the clerk?
Yes, I will.
And any other information you might have. And by the way, you were a gentleman, so we thank you for your comment.
No problem.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yeah.
Can I just?
Freeholder?
Go ahead.
Sure.
The school shooting last week, I'm sorry, didn't comment. The school shooting last week has promoted a lot of new cause for gun laws, to disallow them from being sold. Are you in favor of that or opposed to that?
Well, that's a whole other area of
Well, the
contention.
question is just, are you
Yeah.
opposed to gun control?
I am not opposed to gun control. I think
Don't they make a lot of money?
well, they do.
And don't they pay a lot of taxes too?
I absolutely do.
And don't they have a lot of jobs?
They do, yes.
And are they not regulated?
They are.
Okay, but it's still dangerous, correct?
Well, it's absolutely.
So I think that we could agree that there is an industry here that creates jobs that some people feel is dangerous to a lot of people who become users of that. Now, I understand that you and I would disagree on that. I do. I agree with the director. You are a gentleman. I'm just pointing out that just because something earns dollars and jobs doesn't mean it's good for our country.
I agree.
Okay, and
I agree with
that's
that.
all I wanted to say.
I just think that we can't compare apples and oranges and
I
similar.
think you can, jobs to jobs though. You talked about the marijuana industry because of the jobs in the economy, and the gun lobbies can make the same argument about the guns.
It's-
They create jobs and an economy.
It's I appreciate the fact that you're trying to compare something, but I really think that's a separate debate. Something with guns where, cannabis is, if you look at it from our point of view.
Okay, we don't need to debate it anymore. We both made our
Yeah,
points.
okay. Thank you.
Who else would like to speak?
Mr. Griffin?
Yes, beg your pardon.
I don't really I don't want to be in the substance of this, but maybe I heard the gentleman, Mr. Giordano, wrong. And I know I was asked this question, and we did take our action of last meeting. There have been some local municipalities and counties that have created actual ordinances or some kind of policing authority about this issue. This board did, I'm making a statement. This board did not do that. The only thing it did was pass a resolution notifying the public of their opinion. That's it. There is no policing to it, there is no enforcement to it, there is no, it's just their opinion, which they're obviously allowed to have, as you allowed to have yours, and gentlemen before allowed to have this. There are other jurisdictions that have tried to locally create police powers. This county did not do that, has not done that, and at this point does not intend to do that. So I heard you mention ordinance and you blocking it. Someone's opinion is not blocking anything. They're expressing their opinion. And just to make sure that was clear, because there is a difference between an ordinance with law enforcement capabilities and an expression of opinion. I just want to make sure that was on the record. I'm sorry to
No problem, Mr.
interject.
Administrator. No problem, we appreciate it. John? Is there anyone else after John who wishes to speak? Okay. How many? Two, okay.
Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
This mic, if you can hear me.
Please give your name and although we know.
I'll bend down a little bit, it's okay. Just talk about it.
So now that we promoted you, we're gonna have to get a taller stance. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna charge it to your budget though.
Freeholder Haynes, Freeholder Haynes, I wanted to attend the conference today with Ed, I believe it's Shimalia, is that pronounced correctly?
I think.
He's doing a lot of research
Yes.
on
Yes,
cannabis
yes.
use. It's cannabis use, and I've worked under Dr. Barbara Barr. She's an LCADC since 2005 and learned a lot about, cannabis and the kids that come in. And just to contradict
John,
his
just for the
stats-
record, would you
Yes.
give your name?
John Carmen,
Yeah.
Barney, New Jersey. To contradict his record, and according to Ed today, he said the stats are up in Colorado after 5 years. They're not down, they're up for 12 to 17-year-olds. That's from Ed from today. So the stats are not what we heard today. And medicinal marijuana use, totally different subject. I respect that, I understand. I have 3 daughters that are type 1 diabetics, 3, autoimmune disease. They're all phenomenal athletes, but things may come down the road when they're in pain. So more than anybody else do I understand the need for an alternative when they're in pain. But right now, fortunately, thank God, they're doing exceptionally well in school, and they're all great basketball players. So their athletics are doing well. But from where I work in my job, I spoke about this at the last board meeting. When you see what THC does to the prefrontal cortex to a 14-year-old who has been a chronic user, and you tell me it's not debilitating, I take major umbrage with that. I have seen it firsthand. When a chronic user who's 14, when your prefrontal cortex is loaded with THC receptors, absolutely loaded, and you can every day using that. And I would like to challenge any lawmaker who says to me, I want to legalize this. You're going to let your 18-year-old whose frontal lobe has not developed, whose brain is still developing until they're 25, you're going to stunt and inhibit that growth by chronic cannabis use, and you're okay with that. Kids won't get to it, right? Because they're in my jail, right? And fortunately, stats are down, crimes are down, and we want to keep substance use out of jail. We want that out of jail. But the problem is, use it again, use it again, use it again. The deleterious impact on the brain. We're not thinking properly. Logic is not there. Why are you back here again? That kid's in rent. Why are you back here again? I don't know. And then, I'm sorry. And then,
okay, no problem.
And then for the next, and as I said during the last meeting, in a few weeks, when I see this kid, and they're not as apathetic anymore. They have ambition again. I want to go to school. Let me re-enroll in school. You know, I'm here, you know, and we have the Votech there. Hey, look, you got your classes. We're going to get your GED. We're going to get something for you. But we want you in school instead. We're going to re-enroll you in Tom's River North. Jim Patton, who's a great SAC there, he says, we're going to help these kids get back in school. Please don't tell me it doesn't impact kids and it doesn't come down to these kids. Stronger strands, dangerous dispensaries, okay? Medicinal, absolutely. People in pain, I am extremely empathetic, beyond what you can imagine. But as far as the risk versus reward, what I see right now, the risk outweighs that reward. And again, check those stats, because what it's saying today, and I wish I was at that meeting today, Freeholder, the stats are very different. And I just, you know, when I like the apathy when the kid comes back, and when I said during the last meeting, I mean it. When I meet them for the first time, 2 weeks later, here you are. You know, welcome back. We got you. You're thinking clearly. You know, and God knows what you were smoking, what it was laced with. They call it the fentanyl myth. No, it's not, because I've heard kids talk about it. Take a pair of tweezers and they don't know what they're putting on there, what it's mixed with. They don't know, they're not chemists. So, unfortunately, law enforcement is fighting this. And I think this will cause more damage than good. And that's all I'm saying. It's my job as I go forward. I want to help these kids stay out of jail. I don't want to see, you know, assault's different. I don't want to see any drug issue. Keep them out. Let's help them. Pre-adjudication. Let's go the other route, which you've already done, Freeholder. I know that's the route we're taking. Keep them out. But when they come back in, 5 or 6 VOPs later, I failed a drug test again. Why is that? I don't know. So it impacts the brain. And challenge those lawmakers. You're gonna let your 18-year-old or your 20-year-old, your 21-year-old, whose brain is not developed, smoke and inhibit that growth. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and we appreciate your comments very much. Who are the folks over here that want to talk? Who wants to go first?
I am.
Oh, you're going first?
Yes.
I didn't see you. Go ahead. You can go first.
I'm a Jersey
We were
re-
gonna call on this lady, but
Sorry
you're
about
fine.
that.
You're fine.
I'm a Jersey resident, and I don't give my name out at
Okay.
meetings that much.
We won't require you.
Thank you. I know what the rules
Everybody else
are.
can follow the rule, and you don't have to. You're absolutely right. Go ahead.
It's not a
Finish up.
requirement. It's
Go
not a
ahead. You're
requirement.
right. It's not. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay.
We just requested very nicely. Yep.
Mutual respect. I didn't plan on speaking this afternoon. I was here to just to film different things and everything. I started on a quest as being an independent citizen journalist 18 months ago in like 2016. Started in Monmouth County. My goal is to visit each and every town within the state of New Jersey. There are at least 565 towns. There's like 21 counties as well too. And it seems like there's a lot of miseducation when it comes to filming. I call it propaganda because of what happened with 9/11 and other situations as well too. And I'm like very disappointed with some of the responses that I got this afternoon when I started the film, when I was filming like on all the different floors. And like I said, I'm all about transparency and accountability. This is what I do. I film different things. I film within public meetings, and I do open requests, stuff like that. It's like a check and balance coming from the citizens' viewpoint. And Mr. Black, yeah.
Chair, please.
Okay, I'm gonna use his name anyway, but being directed towards you. It's just, like I said, photography is not a crime in this day and age. You can't use the fear to insecurity to suppress constitutional rights in 2018. You can't do that. And I never heard of a terrorist that blatantly film like I do and many other citizens do, with all the surveillance all around. I don't see a terrorist ever doing that. There's no documented cases that I know of. Maybe you guys know of, but that I know of, that blatantly out in the open films within public buildings and everything else. Do you know any other documented cases? It's a question.
We're listening to you.
Okay,
That's right.
I'm done.
So you're
Yeah,
welcome to speak.
yeah, that's it.
You still have time remaining.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments.
What
Ma'am?
I would like to know, like, what's your
This lady's next.
Well, I still have time. You said so.
Oh, well, then you're not done. Go ahead. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I want to use it. I want to ask you, like, what's your response to what I just stated?
We're listening to you, ma'am. We appreciate your comments.
I don't want you to listen to. I want you to answer my question.
Right.
Would it help if I answered the question? I think maybe it wasn't that Navy-based
Ma'am,
shooting.
we don't do that, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're welcome to comment when you're up here.
How much time do I have left?
You have approximately 2 minutes.
Fine, I gotta stand here for 2 minutes waiting for your response.
Okay. We have 2 more folks that want to talk.
And when my 2 minutes is up, I'm done.
Okay. We appreciate you following our request.
Some of them.
Yes. I had it till 5, so give her another 40 seconds.
And I keep it right from the clock. 5 minutes.
We'll be generous.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Seconds. 5.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We treat everyone with respect here. We really try to. So comments. And you're
Thank
welcome
you, and
back.
have a nice afternoon.
What town are you from? You didn't even tell us.
I'm a Jersey resident.
Okay, no problem. You don't
Thank
have to
you.
tell us. It's fine. We just are curious. It's
Yep.
nice to know.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
For the record, my name is Colleen Begley. It's Begley. I'm a resident of Morristown, New Jersey, and that's Moores, down in Burlington County.
Excuse me, Bagley.
Begley, Begley.
Thank you.
And it's 2 L's, 2 E's for Colleen. And I want to apologize for my poor procedure earlier. My argument
you're
debate
fine.
teacher
You're
from
fine.
high school would not have been happy with
You're
my
fine.
elementary etiquette right there. I
You're
apologize.
You're fine.
But I do believe the Navy shooting, the Navy yard shooter was walking around filming, just to answer the question. I think there is one that I could think of. But I'm a big fan of the First Amendment. Anyway, it's not what I came here to talk about today. I see that politics here seems a little bit weird and contentious today, at least. It's my first time here. I love public process and politics. I actually came here with the marijuana legalization crew here, and I apologize to you, sir, sincerely, that you and my friend had a misunderstanding and a miscommunication, and it got a little bit unnecessarily
Well,
confrontational. But
I
I just want
think
to
it was
apologize.
unnecessarily confrontational because I don't think someone should impugn the motives of someone else's parents who are both deceased. And I took great offense at that. And I do not apologize for defending my mother and my father who aren't here to defend themselves.
And who was a World War II veteran?
Yeah, I
Just passed
absolutely
away
would
in
never ask you
97.
to
But
apologize
anyway,
for that,
go
sir.
ahead. Yeah. And very
no,
kind of
thank
you.
you so much.
Very kind. Very
Absolutely.
gracious.
Anyway, if we could like maybe talk to you guys and kind of get on the same page about what information you guys had given to you this morning about children, give you the information that we have, from our sources, and in the day of cutting through the chase of fake news and bipartisan, like let's all work together. I mean, I don't know what party affiliations you are. I'm a registered Republican. My father was actually the youngest judge in the state of New Jersey, although he is morally opposed to marijuana. And it's created quite a bit of problems like in our personal life because I'm a marijuana activist. I was actually let out on the ISP program by your judges here. And I have to say, the one judge said probably the nicest things about me that anybody has ever said in my life. He told me to go down to Capitol Hill and work down there on these policy issues. And it really meant a lot to me. So I think you have a really wise judicial staff here, obviously because they let me out. But he seemed to understand what's crime and what is civil disobedience and political process. So what we're here today to do is part of the political process. And we would just like to open our doors. My name's Colleen Begley. I'll hang out for a little bit after the meeting, be glad to give you my information, and see if we could just email you whatever your preference of method of information is and give you some of our own information.
First of all, you're not finished yet, but any information you have, if you give to the clerk of the board, and she will, any documents, or you're welcome to give it, and then she'll distribute it to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go ahead. You still have time.
I didn't know
Still have
today
some time.
what was going to happen here, so I came just to really observe. But I wanted to try to be a peacemaker here and door opener and say, let's talk together and see. I'm a really reasonable person. I believe in a lot of sensible procedures and regulation for patient and consumer protection. So I think that maybe there's some things we can agree on. If we could maybe set up even a forum or something like that. I hate to see your freeholders meeting become contentious because of marijuana. And you guys get kind of a bad image or a controversial image in the media, let me say. And maybe we could just talk together and see if we can all help open each other's minds. And we're not going to try to sway you to our opinion. Maybe there's facts that are out there about marijuana hurting children in Colorado that we don't see in our algorithmed Facebook news universe. Anyway, Colleen Begley, thank you all for your service. I really appreciate it. Chris Christie, I'm a big fan of his. So, and I know he got his start as a freeholder, and he always, stresses that the freeholders are an integral part of the political process in state government. And I thank you guys.
Thank you, Colleen. We appreciate it. And Colleen, a couple of things. There, as you probably, I'm sure you are, as being on the group, the state legislature is going to hold a lot of hearings on this, we are told. So that is the appropriate forum, and they're the listening people that are gonna make this decision. And I understand they're gonna go all around the state. Now, that's just what I've been told, I haven't verified that, but there's gonna be a whole series, is that correct?
Yeah, we did actually over
You
in
go.
Burlington County where I live last night. Troy Singleton, who's my representative, had a citizen action committee meeting.
Yeah.
So there are meetings. Could I ask
In
you?
addition to that, I think the committees that are gonna hear this are going to hold hearings around the state.
Absolutely.
Official hearings, take testimony and that kind of thing, and
Absolutely.
then before it ever gets to the houses.
Could I ask, why did you guys decide to go ahead and
No,
make
we're
a
not
stance
getting
on
into
that?
that.
I was just curious, absolutely.
We appreciate it, and also your comment about terror and the Naval Yard shooting,
I
I'm
think that
familiar
was
with
right,
that.
right?
Yes, and, you know, part of the answer that we don't talk about are security issues that we have here. One of the most visible sign are these sheriff's officers who are here all the time. We have security, we have a nuclear plant that was at one point in time considered to be a possible target after 9/11. And we have facilities here in the county which we protect with great care, and so we do have many, many security issues in place. And there are certain public areas which are open to the public. There are certain private areas that have private records, security issues, and so forth like that. And so maybe that is helpful
No.
from everybody's.
Having had experience, I put up
Yeah.
a tent in front of the Fifth and Market, the Independence Mall during the Occupy Wall Street movement. I moved from Occupy Philadelphia down the street with my friend and put up a single tent there. So having worked with the National Park Service in front of the Liberty Bell where we keep all of our, national treasures, I understand the need for security in places and really appreciate it because it makes me feel safe when I go out in public and when I'm at home. So we appreciate these guys a lot and we
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And this gentleman in the light green shirt, did you want to speak too, sir? Did you? Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak after this gentleman? Sir, the
Good
floor is yours.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, freeholders, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, it's not tall enough for you either. John had the same problem.
My name is Jeffrey King, and I've come here actually from Eatontown in Monmouth County to participate in this respectful dialogue that we're having.
That's very kind of you to say. We try to keep it that way. Thank you.
I appreciate
very
actually
much.
everyone's point of view here is equally important to me, and I am as well open-minded to hear things that I don't know. There's a lot to learn. It's a very complicated issue, and I appreciate the open forum for everyone to air their opinions and share knowledge and experience. I think knowledge and experience is important, and I would agree that visiting dispensary is an important part of making a decision as to whether or not we would welcome them or try to actually discourage them. Because I know that you have not discouraged medical marijuana, but I would really appreciate it if you would be more encouraging of it and understand how sick people, people that are suffering and dying, need your help and your support and your compassion and your love. There's a lot of issues out there that are complicated. This is one of them. I mean, just one point I heard, guns are more deadly than cannabis. So you can't even make that argument, but I just wanted to make that point because I was in North Carolina, I have a lot of family down there, and they're very pro-gun and very anti-cannabis, and I'm like, this is so inconsistent. Same thing with tobacco and alcohol, down there worse than here, but it's an issue that I think we need to address. That I'm going to say that I and my friends care just as much about children as you and yours. We all want our children to be safe, so I don't think anyone wants teenagers and minors to use marijuana at all. None of us in this room. And I think that what Hugh's point is that the regulation will actually keep the marijuana out of the hands of young, vulnerable children. We think it's a better idea. It's pragmatic harm reduction, because right now I think the status quo has failed. And if we double down on law enforcement, it's gonna hurt us more. We're gonna have more addiction of hard drugs, because it's not my opinion that it's a gateway drug. It's my opinion that it's an exit. We can disagree respectfully on that, and I guess time will tell. More research, if we support the medical aspect of it, we can support the research. When we start doing retail, then we'll have money to put into education for children. We want the roads to be safe just like anyone else. We're all over road safety. We want adult responsible use. My children will not be using a chainsaw until they're ready as adults. All kinds of things. They're not gonna drive a car until the state says that they are allowed to drive it. We all agree on that. And it's not set in stone. I'm asking everyone to keep an open mind and think about the future being on the right side of history. As far as the THC being stronger, I'm glad you're aware of how there's different options for cannabis consumers. We have edibles, we have vaping, we have tinctures, lozenges. There's a lot of choices for sick people and for people that want to use it socially and spiritually. There's a lot of choices, and it's not all cut and dry. Just like alcohol, we have distilled spirits, we have hard liquor, we have beer, we have wine. It's not all the same, and you don't consume the same amount. We adjust our consumption to what we're looking to do, medication-wise or even socially. So as far as being educated, know your cannabinoids. There's a lot of cannabinoids. It's not just THC, and it's not just the strength of THC. CBD is actually good. It's an anti-diabetic cannabinoid. So if you have anyone with diabetes issues, please fight for medical access for everyone, and just try to wipe away this discrimination, stigma, the history and the past. We're going to turn the page. We're going to have the end of the drug war. We're going to move into drug peace. I really appreciate your time, your attention, and your consideration. Thank you very much. It's a hard job that you're doing, and I appreciate it. I respect it. Thank you.
That's very kind of you, and we certainly appreciate your comment. Is there a, did you speak in the public comments? You're welcome then to come up.
I wanted to nominate.
Beg your pardon? Did you speak before in the public comment? You didn't? No, no, wait, no, I'm sorry.
Nominated John,
Sam.
Field Department for governor.
Sam, thank you. We'll accept that from the floor. Too old. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Seeing that, we will close the public hearing and ask for a motion to adjourn. We have a second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Officers, we thank you for being here.